don't never spend my Bitcoin right now until it raises to where I think it needs to be. Remember that number, 100 million. I firmly bet my life that not in my lifetime, but maybe in my children's lifetime, that one Bitcoin today that's worth 40,000 is gonna be worth about $100 million. So what do? I buy and stack for my kids. You can stack for your future.
Hello. All right. Good afternoon, and welcome to Ahead of the Crypto Curve. It's your girl, Najah Roberts, and again, as always, I am super excited to be here today. And again, I'd like to welcome you because we are creating Satoshi millionaires, one family at a time, one Bitcoin at a time, one Satoshi at a time, and that, my friends and family, means you. I am your host, Najah Roberts, aka Young Harriet, and it is my mission in life to lead my people out of financial slavery. As you all know, this is Women's Her Story Month, and I decided not to do a quote today, but rather a tribute. So, have you ever heard the saying that behind every great man, there is a great woman? And what that statement actually means is that there is a great woman that has been playing a significant role when a man succeeds. And that may be just because she is a stay-at-home mom or she has her own job, but she just always offers support. I've known women and men alike, so I'm not going to say that men don't do this, but I know women who have put their careers on hold to ensure that their husband's career flourishes. And I've seen it done just the opposite. And that phrase is and applies to every woman in this entire world who may not have received the credit for your work or the role that you play in the house or just the success of the man that you are wonderfully attached to. So I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you women that were strong behind that man. But today I'm going to flip that script and say that behind every successful woman, there is a great man. And we see women like our Vice President, Kamala Harris. We've seen Oprah Winfrey and her significant other. We've seen Ruth Bader Ginsburg, if you heard about that story. Her husband, who was a very well-known attorney, put his career on the side burner to really help her achieve some of her accomplishments. So, they all received the support from their husbands or significant others, and that was very, very important. And as for me today, because I am doing a tribute this Women's Her Story Month, I would like to say that I have some great men that have supported me throughout my journey in life. First, shout out to my fabulous husband, Dimitri, who supports me in every move in this cryptocurrency space. And, you know, it has definitely been a up and down situation as it relates to this crypto space. But no matter what, he has been just wavering and just been there to really understand and help get this crypto journey underway. And the other supporter that I've had that has been very influential in my life is my dad. And my dad's name is Charles Hartman, whose heavenly birthday is today. That's why I'm doing this little bit of a tribute, because behind every fabulous or magnificent woman, there is a strong man. And so my dad used to tell me all the time, whatever you see everyone else doing, do the complete opposite. And his words actually, ladies and gentlemen, got me into this space today because I was in the world of financial services. And I mean, no one around me thought that Bitcoin would do anything. They thought it was a scam. They didn't want to hear anything about it. But you know what? I remembered my father's words, and I did the complete opposite of what everyone in the financial industry was doing very early on. And here I am today. So I just want to take this time during Women's Her Story Month, because there are fabulous women everywhere who have fabulous fathers who have helped them every step of the way. I just want to say thanks to my dad for being there for me, never once differentiating me from my little sister, who was actually his firstborn child. And just always keeping me on track with a stern hand. Your efforts were not in vain. And I promise that you will be forever proud of all the things that I do. And I would just like to say to my dad today, rest in heaven, Dad. And so that is my tribute for Women's Her Story Month. And again, to all of those brave men out there who support those of us women that are in this space, big shout out to you because it's not always a glamorous thing when you're building something. It's not always a glamorous road. And so in this cryptocurrency space, in this blockchain space, please understand that is exactly what it is. So thank you to each and every one of you out there. And to all you fabulous women, continue to push forward. We got a lot of work to do in this space, and we are here for it. And that's what I will say to you. And when we come forward, ladies and gentlemen, we will get our crypto scoop. That's our news, so that we understand in this crypto space how to be safe in these crypto streets. This is KBLA Talk 1580. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember that we are in the running this month for those of you that download the KBLA app and go in and tell us who your favorite woman in history is. You are in the running to win an opportunity to sit at a brunch with all of the radio personalities here at KBLA. We just got the memo in the fabulous restaurant that we will be going to. So if you have not already done so, if you're in the Los Angeles area or if you're close, you can actually download the app if you haven't done so, or tell other people to download the app. Maybe they're in Los Angeles and they can download the app, tell us who their favorite woman in history is, and they can be in the running to win a ticket to come to that brunch. And it is going to be great. So I wanted to say that. And also, I wanted to make sure that I gave out the number, because I did say yesterday that you would have an opportunity to call into the station if you had any questions or anything that you wanted to talk about today. So that number is 800-920-1580. Again, that number is 800-920-1580. And at the end of today, we're going to be talking about, towards the end of the hour, we're going to be talking about a book that I want you all to know about. So I don't want you to prematurely think that we are not going to talk about a book today, because we are. It is Wednesday, and I'm trying to bring books to you on Wednesday so that you have something to grab, to read in this Bitcoin space, so that you get a better understanding, a better perspective. So today's book is Bitcoin, Hard Money You Can't FUCK With. Why Bitcoin will be the next global reserve currency. And that's by Jason Williams. And so we're going to go over that today. But before we do that, we're going to get the crypto scoop. And again, I like to tell you about what's going on in the cryptocurrency space so that you understand how mass adoption is evolving, not just here in the United States, which it's slowly doing its thing, but in other countries, on other continents, like what is actually going on. So something that's really, really huge that, a lot of people are not really talking about, but it's a huge move. There is a major cryptocurrency exchange. And again, when we talk about exchange, those are exchanges like Gemini, Binance, Kraken, Coinbase. Those are exchanges where you exchange your money for fiat money for the cryptocurrency. So there's a major cryptocurrency exchange in Japan, ladies and gentlemen, that is going public right here in the United States. They're going to be on the NASDAQ. This company right now is going public in the U.S., and it was a $1.2 billion with a B, billion-dollar merger deal. And so it is called CoinCheck, and it's a regulated agency through the Financial Services Agency. That's the FSA. And so you don't need to learn about these different regulatory bodies. As they become relevant to what we're doing and what we're talking about, I'll explain them. But just know that things are happening. So while China is banning cryptocurrency, the biggest and largest major cryptocurrency exchange in Japan is actually going public. So cryptocurrency, as we can see by way of some of the other things that are happening with the exchange, is how much money they're moving around, and some of the ads that they're talking about that they've been doing, specifically Super Bowl and just other commercials that you're seeing, these exchanges coming to the United States look like they're going to come fast and furious. And so that is why, our United States regulatory agencies have really got to get a handle on who's handling what. But it's coming. So companies are coming, mass adoption is coming, and it's coming in all different shapes and forms through different people, through different, just all sorts of things. So just know that it is coming. And that's young Harriet shining a little bit of light on that. And so something else happened in the international space. So on Tuesday, the international governing body of the Association of Football, so the FIFA, so this isn't, of course, the NFL, but FIFA, they just announced that Crypto.com will be the official sponsor of the FIFA. And why that is huge is because the World Cup is almost as big as, if not bigger, and I haven't done my research, so I shouldn't say it's almost as big, because it may even be bigger than the Super Bowl. It's the World Cup 2022 tournament, and they are the sponsors. So this will actually get Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in front of more eyes. And so why is this important? Because this continuing trend of leverage of these different exchanges into the sports allows cryptocurrency, Bitcoin specifically, to get showcased with millions and millions of people. And so this will be happening at the end of the year, November 21st, 2022. And so again, when we're looking at how to position ourselves as a Black and brown community, we have to have the asset that people are going to need and be utilizing at a later date. And so that is why it is so important. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into the book that we're going to talk about today, how important it is to get your fair share now before the people wake up, before the commercial groups of people wake up. We have the opportunity right now to get ahead of this crypto curve. And so I'm just going to continue to say that, because the more eyes that get on this, the more people that are going to get an epiphany, and then they're going to start doing exactly what we're doing. $6 here, $6 there, $100 here, $50 here, $12 here, just continuing to dollar cost average, because they know that they need to be holders of this phenomenal thing called Bitcoin. And again, we'll touch on that when we get into the book in just a few minutes. One of the other things that happened, and again, I always like to talk to us about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I'm never going to paint the picture that this cryptocurrency space is all the greatest, because there are things that happen all the time, just like in any industry. The thing about it is, when you listen to sites like Fox News and stuff, they just have one perspective and they stick to it. And boy, do they stick to it. Like tooth and nail, they stick to it. But I'm going to be that objective person to say to you that there are problems in our space, and you need to just know what they are and really how to protect yourself. And again, your education in this space is your consumer protection. But sometimes we just don't know. Everything looks good. It's checked out. We've done our due diligence. We've kind of played around with it a little bit. And then something happens. Like we have no control over it because it's a new space. We have no control over a lot of things that happen in the old space either. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone is always aware of what happened. And so, unfortunately, at 9 a.m. UTC time this morning, today, Wednesday, there is a Casio protocol that was actually hacked. And that protocol got hacked again around 9 a.m. UTC time. And the team said following the hack, the statistics shows that the protocol, the value actually locked and went from 28 million to 570,000. And then it went from $1 to zero. And that is on their tokens. And so this Casio app exploited with this thing called an infinity mint glitch is what they're calling it. And this was based on Solana. So a lot of people, because they're getting into the NFT space, the non-fungible token space, are building on top of Solana. And this particular Solana-based decentralized money project called Casio has actually been attacked. And so this is I mean, some of these things are inevitable. I hate to say that, and I hate to tell you, it's going to get better, because I just feel like, people are going to live and learn in this space. As I always say, you're going to pay some tuition. So if you were a person who actually invested in this Casio app, which was supposed to be this decentralized money project, not again saying that it was good or bad, but now we know that it's been attacked and there's been an infinite glitch. Infinite to me means forever. So I don't think that it's going to be coming back, but it's saying, please, they asked all of their listeners or supporters to actually tweet out, please don't mint any cash, because they wanted people to know not to put any more money in there. And so, again, unfortunately, if you hadn't listened and you've been doing all these little side projects, there is a possibility that this can happen. But we know with Bitcoin, we're sliding in the home plate safe. And that is my biggest talk to our community today, is really sliding in and being safe. We know where we can get with safety as it relates to Bitcoin. We can't make any promises as to any of these other projects, whether they're stable coins. Well, I mean, no matter what they are, you really, really just want to be careful about what you get involved in. If you have funds in any of these pools, please make sure that you're paying attention. And this Casio team further asks that you all retweet to give better visibility to those individuals that may be still inside of their platform. All right, so we are done with our news for the day. And I've got to just, again, make sure that if anybody has any questions about anything that I have shared today or yesterday or the day before, that you please feel free to call in and ask those questions. One of the things that we are going to talk about today is Bitcoin and this book called Hard Money You Can't Mess With. And we've got to do some reading, family, because, again, you can call in, you can listen, you can ask questions, but until you really read some of these different perspectives from different people, different nationalities, people all around the world, you really won't get the gist of why different people are into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin specifically. So there are people called Bitcoin fundamentalists, and we're going to have probably an hour to talk about the perspective of some Bitcoin fundamentalists. And I've actually scheduled for some of them to come on and talk about being a Bitcoin fundamentalist. That means they don't want to see, do, or hear anything about any other cryptocurrency except for Bitcoin, because they believe wholeheartedly that Bitcoin will ultimately be the only currency available that actually withstands time. And so I am of that mindset, but I'm not a fundamentalist or extremist, because they are definitely extreme. It is pretty much a way of life. But what I do know is Jason Williams is one of those individuals that wants to make sure that you know why Bitcoin specifically matters and how the central banks are desperately printing this money out of thin air, and that trillions of dollars of it are quietly devaluating your money. And so as I start with this book, again, it's a good book to have. And what I started doing, of course, I'm doing my dollar cost averaging, but I started taking a look at some of the things that I could start cutting out so that I could start getting books that I needed to be reading so I can get all these different perspectives on Bitcoin. And it really didn't help me shape my thought, but it helped me understand why different people feel the way that they feel about Bitcoin, and really if what I was feeling was correct. And so again, being objective, there are some books that I've read about, the rise and fall of money. And those books don't resonate with me. But I have to say that aside of Black Bitcoin and Black America, which we heard last week from Isaiah Jackson, today, this book, this is one of the second books that really, really resonated with me. And every single week, I'm going to be bringing you a book. And hopefully you'll get an opportunity to order some of these books. They're not really expensive, but you really do want to start reading. And I want to prove to this entire world that they're wrong, especially about us in reading. They have this saying that if you want to hide something from Black folks, put it in a book. And every time I hear that, I kind of get pissed off because there are a lot of us that read, but there are a lot of us that don't. But I would really like to say, as we take this cryptocurrency journey together, that you all start to read a little bit more, that you take some time out of your day to actually sit down and dedicate to reading about the crypto, the blockchain, and all of those things, because I guarantee you that every single part of your life is going to, at some point, revolve around some of the things that you're seeing in these books, because it's almost like these books have crystal balls. I remember reading this book and thinking to myself, my goodness, this is like what we're dealing with right now, but it was in a book that was just written a few months back. And if you've been listening to anything that I've been saying, being in cryptocurrency for a month is like being here 6 months. Being in cryptocurrency 6 months is like being here a year. Things are changing so fast and so furious. You've got to stay on top of things. So when we come forward, we are going to talk about this book, Hard Money You Cannot Mess With. And that's not what the title is, but we'll just say it that way. And we're going to talk about the money printer that went burr. When we come forward, this is KBLA Talk 1580. All right. And here we go with this book called Bitcoin, Hard Money You Cannot Mess With. And it's by Jason Williams. So I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even do my due diligence on who Jason Williams is, if he's black, white, brown, have no idea. But when I opened this book, he basically, and I know, I just started reading and I thought, you know what, if he's white or Caucasian, whatever that is, they absolutely love our culture. But he started off in this book saying, I grew up listening to Wu-Tang Clan. And that was when I was a kid. I must have listened to Cream, CREAM, 1,000 times over and over again. That hook still gets me today. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get that money. Dollar, dollar bill, y'all. I know y'all know that song, so I don't have to go any further. But he says it was his mantra as he built himself up from nothing. But Method Man would be pretty pissed off right now if he knew how much the dollar bill was worth today. Because looking at what happened since that song came out called Cream in 1991, what has actually happened to our dollar? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's worth 50 cents today. Yes, 50 cents, y'all. So, if it's worth 50 cents, how can I say that it's worth 50 cents? Well, first of all, there is an official data chart that you can actually look at that talks about the buying power of $100 since 1991 to 2020. And this is critically important when understanding why Bitcoin. And how does our dollar, now that back in 1991, you take $100 and it had $100 worth of buying power, till now in 2022, and I said $100, but a dollar, but it's now 50 cents. So that dollar back in 1991 was worth $1. And now it has the buying power of approximately 50 cents. And as we know how these things happen, the dollar has lost half its value. And this is only in 30 years, ladies and gentlemen. So the answer is really simple. They are messing with our money. To be more accurate, they're just printing money. We've talked about this over and over, but trillions and trillions of dollars has been printed. And the reason why I want you to read this book is because the crux of this entire book is letting you know that the money in your bank account is slowly wasting away because they are printing money. And we could really quote some of the economists that talk about inflation, but there's a gentleman by the name of Dave Portnoy. They call him El Presidente. And he basically says you can just be like, here's a quadrillion, and a quadrillion. And if you flood the market with quadrillions, it just really makes our currency worthless. And we've known this well before. This book came out before they printed the quadrillions. That they didn't print quadrillions, but they printed close to it during the second half of COVID for that stimulus. And the root of that problem is really our money and our monetary system. So as we begin to go along over time, you'll really, really notice how their printing of money really affects our economy, but specifically affects our community, because our dollar does not buy as much as it used to. And so when we look at it, we still see that dollar. And I think in our minds, we've convinced ourselves that everything is okay. And that's what I was explaining to someone that was asking me to speak yesterday. I just really feel like our community a lot of our community has grabbed a hold of cryptocurrency. So don't get me wrong, but the mass majority of people are feeling like there's nothing wrong with my dollar. So why am I looking? I can still go to the store and spend it. So there's nothing wrong with it. And we've always heard, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think a lot of us are really stuck in that. But if there's trillions and trillions of fresh dollars being pumped into the system, it is just stopping it from collapsing. But what happens when they stop printing it? That means it just starts collapsing, and we are well overdue for that to take place. So in this book, he actually helps you to figure out what's actually going to happen next. And there's only really one real conclusion, in my opinion. And that's going to be that we're going to look back to the year 2020, ladies and gentlemen, and we are going to realize that it was the moment that triggered the end of the dollar era. And I know that's hard to swallow. But again, I say that we're making history. We're in history. We're living history. We are going to look back and realize that 2020 and all that printing of the dollar triggered what is about to take place. And I will tell you that we have got a lot of work to do to get ourselves safe on home plate. And I don't know what home plate is for you, but for most of us that are nearing retirement age, home plate is being safe in retirement. Home plate is being safe with making sure that your kids and your grandchildren are good, making sure that your grandkids are getting to college, because those that are my age, that have, younger grandchildren, 2, 3, 5, 7, we're looking at what we can do for those grandchildren, and not necessarily because our children cannot do it, but what our children in their 20s and 30s and 40s are dealing with right now is not going to effectively be enough to ensure that that next generation is okay. And not that we need to skip over them, but we really need to start forward looking at what the next 10 to 15 years looks like. And if you have little grandbabies, that's about the time they're going to be going off to college. So I'm trying to get us to really play chess and start looking a little bit further ahead. Again, not skipping our children. And that's for those of us that are in our early 50s that have, again, children in the 20s and 30s. We don't want to look past them. We want to definitely make sure that they're honing in and doing the right thing. But I really feel like this generation is going to have to skip a generation to make sure that that next generation following is copacetic, that they're coming into home plate safe, sliding in nice and clean, because we need that. Just like, unfortunately, the era above us, or the generation above us, kind of got skipped because we had all these things going on in our communities that, kind of made it where we were the latchkey children, and I'll just say it that way. No intention of our fault of our own, and I'll say that. But we've just really got to start looking at this really smart. And so when we come forward, we're going to talk about a question and answer these questions that people have been asking, like, why is Bitcoin so important to you? How many Bitcoin are there? Has the Bitcoin that's lost, can we retrieve that Bitcoin? When or how is Bitcoin created? Can the government come in and just shut it off? And again, this book will explain more of that in depth. What I'm going to do is just what I call juice the book for you today, so that you get an understanding of Bitcoin from Jason Williams' eyes. But then you can grab this book and really do a deep dive in learning about, about Bitcoin and some of those other things. So when we come forward, ladies and gentlemen, we will talk about how many Bitcoin are actually available, like for real. And so, and why we're screaming from the hills that we all start to stack our Satoshis, one Satoshi at a time. So with that, this is KBLA Talk 1580. Yes. And here we are. So let's talk about how many Bitcoin are really available. Really. So ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we've been talking, and again, I am the town crier, that we are in the game of accumulation right now. And it's already begun for so many people. Unfortunately, not enough of us have begun in this accumulation game, but I'm going to tell you, get on it. So let's do a quick dive into just, a little bit of information about this. And again, I'm juicing so that we all get the gist of it, but we're going to leave the lines open if you have any questions that you want to ask. But there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. Remember, 21 million. So when you hear somebody talking and they're like, oh yeah, I got these people and they want to buy 65 million Bitcoins, just know they don't know what the heck they're talking about. There will only ever be 21 million. We're going to keep saying that over and over so that you get this, because it is scarce. 21 million Bitcoin will ever be created. And right now in circulation, ladies and gentlemen, there are 18.5 million already in circulation. And there's a little bit more than that, because every 10 minutes, more Bitcoin is being created. But for the sake of just getting a roundabout number, 18.5 million Bitcoin is currently in circulation. So who's holding this Bitcoin right now? Hopefully some of you are holding some of this Bitcoin. For the little particles of Bitcoin, the little fractional pieces of Bitcoin called Satoshis. Hopefully you are holding some Satoshis, but Bitcoin's creator, Satoshi Nakamoto, actually holds 1 million of Bitcoin after mining in the early supply. How do we know that? Because we know Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet address, and those Bitcoin have not been moved. They've never moved, and they probably never will. But I always have hope. So what I do is I put my QR code out there. So maybe when Satoshi Nakamoto was feeling generous, he or she or they or it can just send me that 1 million BTC. I'll be forever grateful for the things that we can do for our community. I'm just putting that out there. He may be listening. He might have downloaded the KBLA app. Who knows? So anyway, so we just need to also remember that the Winklevoss twins, those individuals that were at Harvard, of course, they sued Mark Zuckerberg. And when they won suing him, they didn't get the ownership, but when they won suing him, they took at least they bought up 1% of the entire supply of Bitcoin. So there's a lot of us that wish when we heard that we had the same goal and the same game plan and just really bought more for ourselves and for those individuals. At that time, I had clients, so I had financial services clients. I wasn't buying Bitcoin for them, just for myself, but I wish I had bought more. I wish I had opened my mind, eyes, and ears a little bit more than I did. And with that, when we come forward, we're going to talk about the 4 million Bitcoin that are lost forever, because there are some Bitcoin that are lost forever. We'll talk about how that happens, what that looks like, and just making sure you all know it is not retrievable. So when we come forward, this is KBLA Talk 1580. All right. Well, you know what? I've just decided that there is so much great information that I need to share about the 4 million Bitcoin that were lost and the other 2.5 million that are left to be minted, that I'm going to do a part 2 of this tomorrow. So I'm going to actually just continue with letting you know about the Bitcoin that is available and why it's so important that you stack your Satoshis. It states that 22% of the available Bitcoin supply has not moved for 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. They are being held by long-term wealthy whales. They are not for sale. All across the Bitcoin community, you're going to continue to hear people saying HODL, HODL, hold on for dear life. These guys are accumulating as much Bitcoin as possible to hold indefinitely. And I would like for our community to think about the possibility of holding indefinitely. You will understand why as you continue to listen to what we're sharing with you about what is going to go on. This game theory is where we can accumulate things that we think will be valuable in the future. And we've been doing that with all sorts of other things, because good money throughout history has continued to be good money, like gold. And Bitcoin is still in its earliest stages, as we know. And we're building a foundation. In other words, don't buy coffee with Bitcoin. Don't buy anything with Bitcoin right now, in my opinion. Just accumulate it and hold it. I'm not a financial advisor providing any financial advice, but I'm going to say that to you. And ladies and gentlemen, it is time in our daily dollar cost averaging day to do exactly that. So I'm going to ask you all to actually open up your Black Wall Street wallet and go to the purple circle that has the 2 arrows that go back and forth. And you're going to click on buy Bitcoin. And then you're going to click on one time occurrence. And you're going to click $6 and you are going to hit to continue. And we are going to buy that $6 worth of Satoshis today. Again, Satoshis is the smallest increment of $1. You do not need a whole 40 something thousand dollars to buy an entire Bitcoin. Buy the smallest increments, which are Satoshi. So I've just purchased $6 one time from the Black Wall Street wallet. We are dollar cost averaging, and that DCA stands for dollar cost averaging. So a DCA a day keeps poverty away. Let's continue to do that. We're going to do that for a year, and we're going to see what this actually looks like if you have followed along with me starting from March 1st through March 1st, 2023, to see how much we have, because we dollar cost average $6 a day. And for those of you that are looking to secure your Bitcoin on a cold wallet, I have a Ledger and Me 123 coming up next month, where you can actually set up your Ledger device along with me. And we want to make sure that you all are following me on social media. I am Najah Roberts, no dots, no underscores, nothing like that. Just straight Najah Roberts on all social media. If you have questions that you want to ask, please feel free to reach out to me on social media. And you are listening to Ahead of the Crypto Curve, where we are creating Satoshi millionaires, one family at a time, one Bitcoin at a time, and one Satoshi at a time. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, you. Y'all don't touch that dial. It's time to make way for the DL Hughley Show. And you know DL is the truth. So I'm your host, Najah Roberts, with the Head of the Crypto Curve. And this is KBLA Talk 1580, unapologetically progressive.